Time's up. Admiral.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the tongues of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Paul also said you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not while you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott.
Backlash, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass!
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
The day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Hail and howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Night Drive-In. It's October, and we're going to do spooky movies and horror type stuff, I guess, Jed. But hi.
Hi.
These
are getting worse and worse.
I was leading to a false sense of security that I was going to make a good one, and then I thought, nope, I'm going to cut it right off and say just hi.
Well, hi. Yes, It is spooky season, like you said, so we got to do some good horror and suspense films, and what better way to start than with John Carpenter's The Thing. I think we're going to have a great discussion, and I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yes. This is a cult classic at this point. This movie is a cult classic. It has a rabid following, and it deserves every second of it. 1982. This is one of those early 80s movies that paved the way for practical special effects. It is just like we talked about at 1990 last week when Total Recall set the stage for practical effects going into the 90s. This is one of those movies that said, okay, we're gonna I'm John Carpenter. I'm just, what I'm saying. I'm John Carpenter, and I make effed up movies, and I'm going to freak you out with this one. And I remember the first time I saw this, my stepdad showed it to me. I was single-digit kid, and I was freaked out. I was like, what am I watching? I should not be watching this. I shouldn't be watching this. This is not for a kid. And then it took me a long time before I went back and watched it as an adult and understood, okay, this is a good movie. Now, as much like I say it's a good movie, it's not necessarily my cup of tea because I'm not really into horror thriller type of stuff, but I respect this movie. And I understand it's good, and I don't dislike it, and I give it all the praise in the world. It's just, I rarely watch this movie. I rarely watch it. This is like the exception. Okay, got to watch it for work. Here we go. But this was your first time, wasn't it?
Yes, this was my first time watching it, and it's movies like this that make me love this show so very much, because as a lot of people know, I'm on the younger side, and I didn't grow up watching a whole lot of mainstream movies. Really, when I became an adult was when my palette of filmography was able to expand, so being able to watch these classics, having an excuse to having a roadmap, having someone like you who's seen all these movies to help me guide me through these classics is why I love this show so much. And it seems like Halloween is the season for lifelong future loves of mine when it comes to these films, because I absolutely loved this movie. This movie was incredible. Just like Alien a couple years ago, this is one that I was a little hesitant whether or not to buy or rent it when it came out because it wasn't streaming anywhere. And as soon as I saw it was only $7 to buy versus $4 to rent, it's like, all right. I feel like I'm gonna like this, at least the practical effects. Everyone was saying that I was gonna love it. Like Rachel, my wife, she's seen it and thought I'd really enjoy it. You thought I'd really enjoy it. Everyone I talked to said this is right up your alley. So I went in those extra few dollars, and I'm very glad I did. We're gonna watch this Halloween night, probably. We're gonna watch it a couple more times this month. Like, I absolutely
You're doing
love
the
this
Alien
movie.
thing again. It's like, okay, you're locked in.
I'm locked in. Luckily, there's not 8 more movies for me to watch in the next 2 days, like Alien, because that's what I did. Is I marathon every Alien movie, even Alien versus Predator, those 2 movies, and the god awful Ridley Scott prequel movies. I hate those movies so much.
Terrible.
But yeah, I think we're gonna have a great discussion. I do have criticisms of this film still.
It's a good movie with a couple of problems. There's just a couple of problems in there.
The things that are near perfect, if not perfect, especially for the era, are the practical effects. They are
That's the star of the
beautiful
movie.
and almost seamless. Like that first transition scene with the dogs. I know enough about film technology to kind of spot some things more than the average person. Obviously not an expert or anything like that, but I was looking for, all right, is this going to be using stop motion? Is this going to be using an animatronic? Is this a puppet? How is it going? And a lot of those things I just couldn't tell. There's only one scene where the practical effects pulled me out. My suspension of disbelief was harmed by the quality of the special effects. Besides that, it was immersive, and the suspense, I think, is the other thing that's near perfect.
You don't know.
With the music, with the acting, with this, who can you trust? And I know we're going to talk about this movie, and I'm just giving it a way too in-depth overview here, but my favorite thing in horror movies when they're great is not having to feel like the characters are stupid to progress the plot. I don't feel like anyone's an idiot in this movie. They are intelligent people doing the best they can, and that gets me invested in them.
Yeah. I mean, every character's on it. And this is an excellent cast at the time. It's an excellent. I mean, you got Kurt Russell, Keith David, Wilford Brimley, I think that's his name. I don't remember his name. The guy who he played an old man in all those movies with the mustache. You know what the sad thing is? When he made that movie, he's my age when he made that movie, and he looks like
they aged differently back then.
There's something in that generation.
They age poorly up to a point, and then they stay that way for decades. Like Patrick Stewart, he looked like he was 60 by the time he was 35. But then he stayed looking that age until he hit 85, and then it just hit a wall.
Yeah. Diabetes. What the they know. Yeah, he used to do
diabetes.
No. Well, he used to do infomercials for diabetes.
Really?
That was his thing, the infomercials for that. See, the old men know. The old men in the chat know. Right there. They look at, and they both capitalized it too. They both diabetes. It's always about the commercials with the diabetes drugs with Wilford Brimley. But yeah, so at a really good cast and excellent pacing for this movie. Because if you watch this movie and you start it off, because these are dudes in the Antarctic and they're different scientists doing different things. Some of them are there for one reason, some of them are there for another reason. Some of them are there just to take care of the scientists. They're all there and they're on a time limit, but then you don't know that you're getting an alien horror movie. You don't know because we're about 20, 30 minutes in before they discover the shipwreck, the crash ship.
Yeah, it's quite a ways into there. And then the dog transformations really when you know what type of
dog.
movie it is.
Didn't I warn you last week? The dog. I said the dog. You'll understand it when you get there. Oh, those poor dogs.
I kind of didn't like the Norwegians at the beginning of the film instinctually by seeing them try to hunt down that dog. But later on, when you see the transformation, you're like, all right, they were kind of fair to go in with grenades.
They knew what they
snipers.
At that point, they knew what was going on, and they were trying to stop it. And
maybe they shouldn't have shot that dude in the head.
Yeah. I mean, our hero group fucked everything up. They fucked everything up. So what we have here, it's the story. It's a rather simple story, but its complexity comes with the thriller nature of it and the who is it nature, like you mentioned. And you have the, like we said, the scientist group, they get a distress call from a Norwegian science group up wherever. It's Antarctica. It's just
It
the
all looks the
tundra.
same.
It's the fucking tundra.
Which I
And
think helps this film a lot because up until the reveal of the hole in the ground underneath the shack, we'll get to that, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
up until that reveal, you didn't really know how long any of this was really taking place. And I think that makes sense for Antarctica, especially because this isn't the time of year where there's the 24-hour sun or anything like that. So it's dark most of the time. It's stormy most of the time. And this lack of clear divisions between the days is something that they themselves would be experiencing. So this sort of feeling watching the movie that it's one long drawn out day that leaves you feeling kind of exhausted when you think about it, that got me into the headspace of these guys because that's what they're experiencing.
But that's also where I have one of my problems, because when you get to that point when you're trying to figure out who is it, and you realize, and before they understand that this thing, once it spreads, it becomes a different individual. It can exist outside of the home unit. If I'm saying that rightly, there's a way to put it. Each individual thing is its own thing, gets still connected by a hive mind, if that makes sense. It's very,
yeah, we see it with the individual blood cells that every cell of this creature is almost sentient and can act in the interest of its own survival.
So at that point, there are multiple things at one point. And one of my problems, though, is that you know how I am with movies. I want to know how much time is taking place. I want to know this. The movie doesn't make it clear that there have been enough time for when Wilford Brimley's thing is building that ship underneath his house.
Yeah, if you want to talk about that, that is actually one of my biggest criticisms of the film.
It always has been mine too. Yeah,
I loved his arc up to that point. He's the scientist. He's researching the cells, and somehow with an 80s computer is able to figure out that 27,000 hours is all it would take for total global domination. But he's realizing he has a responsibility to keep this from spreading. And that's when he goes and destroys the communication equipment and whatnot. That felt like something interesting. This isn't someone who's gotten so absorbed with the who's the monster type thing. He has a different set of motivations, still gone a little bit crazy, but it's a different psychology and feels unique amongst what everyone else is going through. Everyone else is, who is it? He's focusing on, it doesn't matter. We're all not getting out of here alive. And that was interesting. And then they just kind of pulled the rug out from you at the end. It's like, oh yeah, he probably did that to not let them call backup or some stuff. He was an alien the whole time, building a spaceship in the ground. Just that whole reveal was awful. I would prefer
that's the biggest problem. That
just
doesn't
take
make
out the
any sense.
hole in the ground, take out the spaceship construction, and you can explain away the helicopter being destroyed for one reason or another, or at least disabled, and just say, yeah, since he was out there on his own, he got infected, and now he's the big bad. That, I think, would have still worked exactly the same. It just take out the spaceship in the ground. We're good with the pacing, like you said. It makes it seem like it had to have been weeks. It feels not like it can't have been that long. So yeah, that whole reveal, I think, is the worst part of the movie.
That I'm right there with you. That is where it loses the most points for me. It does every time, because it doesn't make sense. That when did he build this? How fast did he build this? When did he get infected? I mean, it's such a great reveal when he's when he grabs the guy by the face. It's just like,
oh yeah, his fingers are going under
that
the
is
skin.
just so gnarly when it happens. And then you find the hole in the ground, and it's like, wait a minute, what? Really? But that's a little ways in. When before that, it's the who done it. Who is it? Which one of you is infected? And the beautiful thing is, the way this works, an infected person, they're still behaving normally.
It's a perfect replica.
Yeah. Once the cells are in and it's replaced you with it, could we call this the thing a parasitic creature of sorts? It takes you over.
Well, it duplicates you, though. They were saying that, he tries to eat you, absorb you, or duplicate you. Like, there were instances where there was a body of someone, and then the thing was duplicating the dead person. So I don't know if you could call it parasitic. Predatory, absolutely, but
yeah, it's that. Well, that's the thing. It's so hard to figure out what exactly are we dealing with here, and is the original alien creature they find, is that even its original body, or is it something else that took over or copied or whatever? It's a fascinating thing to think about it, And that's why the Thing is such a deadly creature. I mean, as I said, this movie, how long was it? I forget. How long was it again? I wasn't paying
Just under
attention.
2 hours, I
Yeah,
think.
it's a tight movie, and it's very simple. You go from the prologue, essentially, the first act one, which is the setup. Then there's the who is it, and then it's okay. Now we're narrowing it down, and then it's okay. Now we're going to try and end this in dramatic fashion. But I guess the real thing to talk about this is the practical effects. I mean, that's where I want to spend time talking about right now. It's just that's the story of this movie, The Thing, as it transforms every time, and the level to which the detail, the monstrosities that created. Do you have a favorite monstrosity?
Oh God, I have a least favorite, but an
Okay.
actual favorite. Probably the moment the dog's face peels back at the very
Mm.
beginning, just because of how visceral and surprising it is. It's more the scene that makes it so memorable for me. But yeah, pretty much all of the interactions with it, it felt so frightening and real. I know some of the trivia behind it, like when the corpse, or at least you think it's the corpse, the head falls off and the head grows legs and whatnot
Yeah.
and walks away. When the head is stretching away from the body in the fire, they used gum for that effect.
Really?
And you can't tell. Like, yeah, that stretching effect as the head slowly lowers down to the ground, the sinews of the neck expanding away. That was gum.
Mm.
And
That's
so
cool.
just all the little tricks that they had made it immersive. Like, I can't tell. Like, if I didn't know, I
Mhm.
had already heard that going into it, that was gum, I would not have known. It looked
I didn't know.
incredible.
I've never known all these years. Then again, I never look at the little things. I just kind of take it and go with it. But yeah, to me, that my favorite one is probably the head spider because it freaks me the fuck out the most, and that's why I qualified as the one I like most, because that's the one that freaks me out, because it's both a spider and it's a head, and that's just all kinds of wrong for me. All kinds of wrong. So it's all that stuff. I love that John Carpenter said, "Go for it to everybody when making these things. Just make the most horrific things you can." And the idea of not knowing, that whole section of not knowing, it's an excellent study of the human psyche, of what do we become when we trust nobody, and then you kind of wonder at that point, because they don't know, can I even trust myself? Because I think Kurt Russell at sometimes wondering, can I trust myself at this point during this?
I think a lot of people did, especially in the blood testing scene. They all were like, "Is my blood gonna freak out right now?"
Yeah,
Especially the really nervous guy. I can't remember any of the names. That's another criticism I
neither,
have in
yeah.
the movie. Is there's so many characters and none of them really get development, and even Kurt Russell doesn't really get a whole lot of development. It's Kurt Russell, so he feels like a
very
good presence,
little
but
character development.
which
I just say
I
Kurt
get they
Russell and
traded
Keith David.
suspense. They traded suspense for character work, so I understand it.
It's
But
fair.
I wish there was a lot more character work. I want to care about these individuals and know their names. I
Mhm.
only know McCready because of the whole thing
Kurt
with his
Russell.
jacket that went
Yeah,
nowhere.
but I just say Kurt Russell and Keith David when I watch this movie. That's the way I do it. Because we're talking, of course, in this moment, two actors who are just stellar at being character actors. And this is Kurt Russell literally starting to break out into a lot of iconic roles in the 80s at this point. And this is I think this is his first movie with John Carpenter. I'm pretty sure.
Escape from New York was 2 years.
Oh,
or
it
1 year
was 2 years
before
before? Okay. I forgot. I didn't know what year Escape New York was made. Okay.
I'd looked it up specifically
Okay,
because I'd
okay.
never seen a John Carpenter movie actually. So
You've seen Big Trouble in Little China.
Mm-mm.
Then again, I'm going to show you and you're going to hate it because it's glorious. That's like the most glorious of 80s shtick schlock in the world. It's great, and it makes no sense half the time, and you'll hate every second of it, but it's glorious. Jack Burton, he's an idiot, but he's great.
But yeah, he's breaking out of his Disney era because that's
Yes.
what made Kurt Russell famous. And like I've seen the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes and stuff like that. The
Mhm.
Disney characters were very different than what made his career iconic
Oh yeah,
in the 80s.
this is. I mean, you go from the 60s and the 70s of family-oriented Kurt Russell, and now you get Escape from New York, Snake Plissken, which is just the hardest core you can get. And then now here's McCready, which is the complete opposite of even Snake Plissken. And what I love at that, this is showing you Kurt Russell's range, that he can do family-friendly, can do comedy, and they can do action, and then you can do super serious thriller and just dive into it and be this guy who's just freaking out, trying to keep himself normal, wondering, am I okay too? So the stars of this movie are great. And but the
They
human
do a
psyche
great
part,
job with what they're
oh yeah,
given.
oh yeah. I have no problem with any single performance in this movie, none whatsoever. They all nail it. And Keith David is this is prime Keith David. We're getting close to the They Live, where him and Roddy Piper have the epic 45-minute fist fight. That is one of the greatest things in the world. I love that. But this is Keith David doing Keith David, being badass and a little untrustworthy. And that's the thing. He's untrustworthy the entire movie. And at the very end, it's like, where did you go? Lost sight of you for a while there. Can I trust you? But all right, but the human psyche part. Let's get back to that human psyche part. I love the idea of whole. What do people do when pushed? I always love the kind of thing. What does somebody do when they're pushed to their limit? When they are down to their last nerve? When they have there's no way out. They're stuck there, and to go through a journey to reach a point and say, okay, we have to kill everybody and basically almost kill ourselves. I mean, Jed, you got to be impressed of the character, at least that little character development of the human psyche, reach a point of, we're ready to sacrifice ourselves to make sure this thing doesn't get out. And it works.
Yeah, you never know what your morality is until it's tested to its utter brink. And seeing these men at the end decide our lives are worthless in comparison to saving humanity, because that's what the stakes at the end were. It escalated very slowly and very well throughout the film that this is a human extinction level event if it's able to escape. And they, without question, at least in McCready's case, unquestioningly says, we're going to blow it up. We're going to die here. And the other characters are a little bit more hesitant about it still, but his dedication in that moment it's mainly fueled by Kurt Russell's performance, I think, that I believe it so much. But yeah, I do believe no one's morality is set in stone until they have it tested to the degree like this. And we all hope that we could be heroic people in a similar situation to them, but you'll never know until you're tested like that. And I'm very impressed with these characters. Beyond just that, just their ability to still be intelligent. That's something I said at the beginning. The blood test, I think, is an ingenious solution to their situation. I was afraid that they'd just be like, well, maybe it can't replicate memories. Let's ask each other personal questions. Like, I've seen that a million times. That's always what you do when there's a potential doppelganger situation. But this one, it fit within the context and it felt original. And I never felt like they were sacrificing the intelligence of these characters to accomplish the plot's goals.
And it's intelligence that we can feel they can reach these things in a logical manner. I mean, once they realize that this thing hates fire, okay, let's heat up the coil. Let's everybody take the blood and we'll go one at a time. And we basically, of course, Kurt Russell saying, okay, I know I'm clean now. And we're going to do this one at a time. And that first jump scare, I remember when I was the little kid watched the first time, the jump scare of the jumping out of the blood sample.
I have no idea how they did that effect.
But I think I did see somewhere somebody told me once how it worked. But either way, that tattooed my little kid brain. The freak out I was like, ah! I mean, full on little kid. Oh my God! I didn't think that, because that's a pure. You don't see it coming jump scare, because at that point we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it might all sizzle, or it might just kind of like roll away from him in the dish or something like that. You don't expect it to leap out.
I mean, this is the genius of John Carpenter. A younger John Carpenter. He loses his touch as time goes on. John Carpenter's Vampires is dog shit. It's fun, but it's dog shit movie. But John Carpenter in the 80s was he knew how to do it. And you give this movie where it's super serious, or Big Trouble in Little China where it's very, very campy. But this is in your face, serious thriller horror. And to create a jump scare like that, the man knew his craft, and you give him all the respect for that back in the day like that. And that's why you love it. And then, of course, when it happens and the one guy's tied up, the other guy reacts to it. Is like, get him away from me! Get away from me!
Why were they tied to each other?
I know.
But what I love about that scene is as soon as the one guy, the jump scare happened, they burned the guy who started to thing out there and ran out into the snow and whatnot. It's like, all right, don't stop testing the blood. There's more than one. It's okay. Keep going. I was afraid that he was just going to be like, all right, that's it. We found the one. But no, Kurt Russell still left them all tied up and still kept testing them. That's what I mean by intelligence. This film isn't sacrificing anyone, because the next sequence, it doesn't accomplish anything besides making sure that everyone else isn't the thing. But the audience, a lot of people would just be like, all right, we've accomplished what we need to. We found the thing. Let's move on to the next scene. He spent a few extra minutes to show he was McCready was intelligent enough to continue the test all the way through until he could verify everyone who was still alive.
It's not forgetting the lore of the movie set up that this is not a singular entity. It spreads. There are multiples. So you have to keep going, and that's an excellent point. So all right, where do you want to go with this now? Because since your first watch through of it, I could go on in different areas, but where do you want to take this conversation right now? Like you're thinking about?
I do think we've glazed it quite a bit, so maybe there's some criticisms that we could lay on it. The big one, of course, is the twist with the scientist being an alien the whole time. Neither of us think that works with what they're establishing, and I think it really hurts the film because they had an interesting character up to that point who was, at the very beginning, willing to die to keep this thing in check. McCready had to go through the whole movie to come to that conclusion. But there are a few moments that they're red herrings, I think, and they're just meant to increase the who is it nature of the film, but they never paid off. Like, who got McCready's spare jacket, tore it up, and put it in the furnace to frame him as being the thing? We just find it in the snow randomly, and then a few scenes later, the guy runs in and is like, it's McCready, it's McCready, it's McCready. And then that's never paid off. Obviously, he proves that it's not him and is able to help for the rest of the film. But there's also, who stole the key? They were acting like it was so ridiculous that the key was pickpocketed to destroy the blood samples, which there was still plenty of blood in there to accomplish what you needed to accomplish. But there were a lot of moments like that were leading to something and then just dissipated. And that would be fine to a certain extent where there's so much going on that you can't trust anything. But especially with the key and McCready, those two are huge moments that are integral to the plot. They're integral to why people make the decisions they do and who they're suspecting and whatnot. Those are the examples that I put up as they needed resolution. Not everything needs resolution, like the end of the film, I don't think necessarily needs resolution, but those two things did. Who had the opportunity?
It's set up and no payoff.
Exactly.
And I can't disagree with you. These go into the little things. I mean, very little.
These are so small, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are one of those movies. You and I have this all the time. We like a movie so much, and we're looking for things to try and be objectively critical about, because we can't give it, I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10. There's got to be something in there. And it's always a little thing. The big thing is the spaceship, that the time that we say, but these are little things. You set these things up, and it feels like, I agree with you, let's get to the monster reveals without figuring out how and why and when this happened. And it leads into my overall still problem. There's a severe lack of telling us how much time has passed in certain areas. So we don't know who was free, who was a thing, when did they become a thing. I mean, well, that part of the thing is part of the story is not knowing when somebody became a thing, which is good. That's okay. But there has to be proper payoff for little things. And it doesn't have to take very long. We know many times in movies, it don't take very long, just a half a line, half a second to figure it out. This is the person that did it. Now, of course, maybe this isn't, or it never was intended to be the kind of movie where McCready puts all the puzzle pieces together to figure out how long something's going on, because McCready's he's the average Joe of this group. He's not the super scientist. He's essentially their caretaker in a way.
He's the pilot. He's the helicopter pilot. That's pretty much what his service is. And I do have to point out, I love how quickly they set up his character with the chess machine at the beginning. I can't see a whole lot of companies approving a chess machine of that size being transported down there and serving no other purpose, but him just pouring the booze down, I thought was hilarious. But he was just the pilot. He had nothing to do most of the time.
Yeah, so that's why he's bored all the time. And for him to have to be the one to shoulder all of this and figure this shit out is the interesting aspect of it. But at the same time, like I said, he's not intended, I don't think, to put the pieces together because it's not his type of, he's not that type of character because he's just there to take action when the time is right. So I feel like I can't disagree with what you're saying that those were unnecessary setups. They could have just been glossed over. I mean, one is fine, like the whole jacket thing. That's a good thing. A thing put it out there because it realized that McCready is suspicious. So
he's the most competent antagonist.
Competent. I was gonna say that he's the one that can be a problem because the thing is intelligent. It's intelligent. It's a surreptitious creature. It's gonna hide. It's gonna wait. It's gonna be patient until it's discovered. And when it's discovered, it's gonna grab you by the face and push its fingers into your cheeks, or it's gonna eat you. And if you're a dog in the pen, but the movie could have left those things out. I don't disagree at all. It could have, and it wouldn't have taken anything away from the movie. I don't think, because it still would have been who is it, who's infected, who's not. How can we trust each other? Let's get to the point now where we're going to try and figure it out. And once you get to the blood testing, which to me that's the peak of the tension right there. The blood testing,
absolutely,
and I love the way it builds. Oh yeah, that's the one that always sticks out. That's the one you always remember. Honestly, that's the most famous scene of that movie. I think the blood testing. Next to the dog mutation.
The only scene I'd seen before was the one with the head spider, and leading up to that when the stomach.
But that's part of that scene. That's all part of that. So it's designed to be this way, and it's supposed to build attention. And even though we nitpicked at little stuff, it is always meant to build the tension in that way. So I'm okay with it, but I agree that there is there's little things, either pay them off or don't set them up in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, as great as this is, what else do you want to talk about? Because I'm not sure what else to talk about as outside of just. I guess we can talk about the finale. You want to go to the third act? We can go jump right to that because that's the tension. It's like you think you have all your allies in check and you're hunting this thing down and you got to set the bomb to blow everything up. Problem is everybody gets separated. Which was let's not get separated so we keep an eye on each other. And they win, but we don't win because you got Kurt Russell and Keith David eyeing each other at the very end there. One of us is infected. We don't know who. Let's just wait till we freeze and die.
Well, they don't necessarily know that either of them is infected. But it's possible.
I have bad news for you. It has been leaked in recent years that one of them was infected. It has been revealed.
It's not included in the film, so it doesn't. I don't think it matters. It's all about what's in the film that matters rather than the intention. Because, like the whole thing with Blade Runner, everyone talks about whether or not he's a replicant. Ridley Scott has an opinion, but he didn't include that opinion in the film, so it's his opinion fact.
I guess it depends how you look at it. Does a creator have it? Well, again, he's a creator. He adapted something. He didn't write that. He adapted it. He didn't make it up. Just like The Thing is an adaptation. There's an older version of this. Ridley Scott did. I'm not Ridley Scott. John Carpenter didn't make this up. So
I prefer ending on this cliffhanger.
The not knowing who's infected is the perfect ending to this movie. And you know how I feel about ambiguous endings. I generally hate them. But when you build on a movie of who is it, and in that moment, they've got fire that's burning out, they've got a little liquor, and here comes the freeze. If one of them's it's going to kill the other one and then going to freeze because there's no way out. They're trapped.
It might go back into hibernation like we saw after it crashed way back in the day. But I like the ambiguous ending because this isn't an action movie. This isn't the hero sent to take out the villain or anything like that. It accomplishes what you want it to. They're on the back foot. They are unprepared for something like this, ill-equipped to handle it. So them potentially losing is 100% within the realm of possibility, but they still give it a hopeful possible ending. It's like, yeah, we might have killed the creature, so that gives people who want the hopeful ending the hopeful ending. The people who want the more depressing, it's going to get out there someday when the rescue team shows up. There's that aspect of it. It sets up all the different interpretations and lets it be up to you, and it can literally be any of them. I think this is a perfect example of how to do an ambiguous ending.
You didn't, because once again, these are not heroic men. These are men who were faced with an unwinnable situation. And like you said before, their morals were tested and they said, okay, F it, let's do it. Let's blow this shit up. And we're going to die in the process. And we're not doing it to go out heroes. We're just doing it for the needs of the many, outweigh the needs of the few or the one. And this is how you end something like that. These are not guys who, like you said, the perfect way to say it, these are not people who were sent in to do the job, to get the creature. No, this shit just fell in their lap. They dug up something. The Norwegians dug up something they shouldn't have dug up. And these dumb idiots picked it up and brought it back and made it worse. So
yeah, and, like, they're not even the ones who dug it up.
Yeah.
This could literally just move on to another base, and a hypothetical thing too is third Antarctica base dealing with this, and it just hopscotch until it gets off the continent.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way it ends is this is how you do something like that. These are people who are just, they lose. You lost. Whether you win or you lose, whether they get or not, you still lose because you're going to die. It's the it is the no-win scenario. This is our Kobayashi Maru no-win scenario. There's no way out of this. No one's going to sweep in. No hero is going to show up and save the day. No one's coming in. And
even if the best of the American military had showed up, they wouldn't be equipped to handle this either. So there's no one who could swoop in and save the day.
Bullets don't kill this thing. Bullets don't kill it because that just spreads it. Honestly, you spread its material around, that just makes more of it. Fire.
Which is why I don't like him using the grenade on the one after the testing scene. Keep lighting it. Keep using your torch.
Well, they had limited gas. I mean, that thing
that's true. It was running low, and
which is why they just had the heated up so that you could touch it like that. So, I mean, so this is a creature that could be killed one way: fire, burn it till it's dead, napalm that shit. But like you said, a military unit comes in, they're not necessarily going to be armed with flamethrowers. They're going to be armed with ballistic weapons, and that's ineffective against this thing. Makes it worse. So this is a horrible situation, and it ends with, gee, I hope it just either is dead or hibernates forever. But it's great. It's great. You have that proper feeling of, I hate that this happened, and I hate myself for looking at this, and I feel disgusting, but part of me, I loved it at the same time, that it was such a, as I said, beginning, this is not my type of movie, but I have the utmost respect for every aspect of this movie because it is an excellently produced movie, well acted. The script is minimal, but like the chat was saying, they have these great one-liner moments when they freak out, but at the same time, it's a minimal script, and that the minimal script, the minimal dialogue for most of the movie adds to the atmosphere of, you are out there on the fucking tundra, and it's cold and it's dark, and ain't nobody gonna help you. It adds to it.
I agree.
So when they do talk, it's added tension. The words mean more, and it also doesn't stress that we're not. You don't need exposition. This is a movie where every visual speaks for itself.
Yeah, the one exposition dump in the film that I would say is the important one. I mean, and you could kind of say that the shot of the ship crashing in the beginning was a little bit expositional, but the only real expositional dump was watching the tapes of the Norwegian finding the spaceship. And that was a show, and that was a logical way for them to come across that information. It didn't just feel like, all right, we're stopping everything. All right, everyone gather around. We've come to these conclusions that are 100% accurate. And as you know, anything like that, it's just one exposition dump that is completely understandable and minimal. It's like a 30-second sequence, and it's more just, hey, there's a shot of them looking at an alien ship crashed in the ice. What does this mean? And then it goes into the character and the character reactions. Who do we trust? This thing, this is what I found about it researching the cells. And I agree. It did a really great job with a minimal concept. This isn't a crazy concept.
No.
There's
not deep
no
at all.
needed backstory.
No.
I don't. In no way do I need to know what this species looks like off-world. I'd be fascinated to, obviously, but does it really matter if they're here to conquer?
But
to colonize?
here's the thing, though, that you went to my final question about this. Is the Thing truly an antagonist? It just wants to leave the planet. It doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, it specifically didn't go to the continent to take over the world. It was building a spaceship in the ground.
Yeah. And the Wilford Brimley thing was going to leave. Now, there might have been another one, but it also just probably wanted to leave. This is not an entity that was there to take. I mean, the idea of the whole how we could spread across the world, it's not here to spread across the world. It crash landed on our planet. It didn't
crash landed
here.
And it disabled the helicopter. The best way to get out of there.
Yeah,
to get back to civilization.
So, the existential question of is the Thing really a villain? One, and what it's doing, it's reacting to trying to protect itself. That's the thing. It's every time it's discovered, it doesn't act until it's discovered.
Mm-hmm. This is just like the xenomorph, where it's fulfilling nature. It's not malicious in its intentions.
Yeah.
It's doing what it needs to do, wanting to get off planet. The one concern I would have is its species still viable, galactically speaking, and would they want to come back? If without that answer to the question, there would be a reasonable question of, should we just let it have its spaceship and go?
Yeah.
That could have been a solution to the film where McCready's like, it's building a spaceship. Is it almost done? Let's just let it go if it doesn't want to be here.
Now, this is the thing. We only have with the movie. And comic or novel, we don't know this. The movie doesn't express this, so we can only go with the movie tells us. And that's an interesting thing that Kel brings up, that there's two different things. Opposing thing. He has a theory there. That one thing wants to just get off and the other one wants to be aggressive. That's a fascinating idea, but it's you would have to really dig into each aspect of when you encounter a thing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be here another hour going over those little bits.
You could have fascinating discussions about the motivations of the thing and why it makes its decisions, these different explanations for the scenarios, but we can't have any definitive statements, I think.
Yeah.
Just like with whether or not McCready and the other guy are infected at the end.
Yeah.
Even if John Carpenter had an explanation or an opinion, he didn't include it in the film. So we can't make definitive statements, but it's still a fascinating thing to talk about is what would happen next. How do the scenes of the film get reframed by different explanations? It's a film you could talk about a lot, even with its simple script.
Yeah. You can break it down, you can analyze it, you can think about it. And like we said, existential questions. Is this really an evil creature, or is it just want to get the fuck off the planet? Just wants to leave. So it's a fascinating movie, and it should be studied, especially for the practical effects. That, to me, like I said, the star is the practical effects, because everyone is unique. It's crazy. It's insane. And it is body horror. This movie is the definition of body horror, with contortions and teeth and tentacles and appendages. Bleh. Freaks me out. Bleh. Yeah. Anyway, I don't have much else to say on it, though. After that, I've given my criticisms. I've shared yours. The positives are the positives. I mean, like I say, it's not a deep script.
No,
not a lot to dig into, but we analyze it pretty well. So, you just want to score it, move on.
Yeah, we can finish it up.
All right, it's your week. You get to go first.
All right, perfect. Yeah, everything we said it still applies here to my score. The practical effects alone make this an incredible film. There's only one moment in it that the practical effects didn't quite do the trick for me, and I got pulled out with the moment when the stomach opens up and eats the hands. I laughed out loud at that moment. That moment doesn't quite work for me, but considering that this came out in 1982, if all the rest of it looks better than modern CGI in a lot of cases, feels way more real and tactile and frightening than any CGI I've ever seen, really speaks volumes about how incredibly well made and by talented people this film was. The talent is everywhere, from the acting to the set design to the practical effects. These are people at the top of their craft.
Yeah.
And I want to find more movies like this. I wish or hope that there's more things like this that I can discover, because there's always new movies for me to discover in the past. I don't have to rely on modern Hollywood, and this film is a great example of that. When it comes to my score, the biggest criticisms are the red herrings, the confusion with why the doctor, is he building a spaceship or is he trying to stop everyone from leaving? Just the contradiction there, I think, is a rather major one, and the lack of overall character development for anyone besides McCready is something that I really wish we had. That would help me get invested in these individual characters, because yes, I enjoyed the death scenes. I felt the suspense of who's who, but I never felt sad that a character died. There was no one that I was attached to that I'm like, oh man, why did he have to go? Or anyone that I disliked so much that I was like, yeah, let him get fucking ripped apart. There was no personal investment in any of these characters, and McCready only because it's Kurt Russell. So I think there are ways that the character aspects could be improved substantially. That's why I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Wow, that's my score. 8.5 for essentially the same reasons. I only add in, for me, my usual. I don't like it when I don't know how much time is passing, because I need it helps me frame how people, to me, time is important as a measure to people reacting to things. And that missing aspect, I always take points off if the movie doesn't frame how long something is taking. Because if something's writing really quickly and somebody's having a deep reaction, I'll go, wow, that's not enough. Or it's been this long and you're still haven't done this, that too. So that's my takeaway. And everything you said, ship, little red herrings, little things like that, lack of characters. Great cast, everybody performs great, but outside of their little backs and forths, we don't get much. And it's a thing that has to be acknowledged. So there you go. Rarely are we the same score. Very rarely. Very rarely.
I know. Sometimes we're close, but I
Yeah.
can't remember the last time we were the same.
I don't think we've ever been the same, honestly.
I feel like it's had to have happened.
Once.
Yeah.
Maybe once. Some autist in the chat can go back and check every score on every.
I feel like
on
Wrath
every
of
score.
Khan we were probably pretty close on.
I think I gave it a 9.5.
Hmm.
I think. Anyway, once, I think maybe once we've been the same. Once. Very rarely though. It's not a common occurrence with us.
No,
but
absolutely not.
That being said, I had to rack my brain what to choose for next week. I because I don't do horror. I'm not really a Halloween guy. But then I thought, wait a minute. Okay, I have one that will generate a good discussion, because what I've chosen is a good but very flawed movie. And that is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Oh, starring Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Sir Anthony Hopkins, and Sir Gary Oldman. So it's got a cast.
It does.
It's got a cast. But as an adaptation of Dracula, is it really good? So I have my I like the movie, but I have my problems with that movie. Gizad, we can't do Pumpkinhead. That's just a straight up horror movie. We'd spend about 10, 15 minutes talking about it, and then we'd be done. We gotta have some meat on the bones. I prefer Pumpkinhead 2, honestly. I like Pumpkinhead 2 better than Pumpkinhead.
You point that one out. I was looking at the Legatus one, saying that it was my fault that Apple Dumpling Gang got shit on. We shit on that one together.
No, that was a universal dump.
Yeah.
Legatus.
It wasn't my fault.
All right.
Blame Adam for it too.
Yeah. This Legatus trying to pass the buck that he chose a movie that we hated. I hated it when I was a kid.
Movie.
I hated it when I was a kid, and I hate it as an adult. 70s Disney is shit. But anyway, so there you go. Next week, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that should be a good one. Anyway, so thank you everybody for joining us this evening. We hope you had a good time. Best way to do that: subscribe, hit like buttons, leave comments, and we'll see you next week. Until then, take it easy.